The Interplanetary Defense and Reaction Forces were a unit that was protocol used for assistance on other planets. However, there were a number of engineering devices and things series that we spent here on Earth. Later, my deployment, I found out a lot more information about the space program.
Could there be proof of an off-planet military presence?
Yes, at a certain point, after the public, it's much safer. We all know this.
Military and NASA computers over a 13-month period. His goal? Evidence that the U.S. was hiding UFO activity and proof that indeed there was a secret program. Allegedly, he found flight records from traffic controllers off-planet, actual UFO technology, and he discovered lists of off-planet personnel. Could there really be an off-planet military presence?
The late 40s were the same time period that the Mars Germans started planning for and building their bases on the Moon as well as Mars. The late 40s marked a very crucial moment in the development of the Antarctic German civilization. That was when they started building out their bases away from Earth.
In 1945, Major Staver was in charge of tracking down top Nazi scientists in Operation Overcast. Most of the names on his list were engineers that worked at the German Army Research Center, Peenemünde, developing V-2 rockets. One of these famous scientists was Wernher von Braun, Germany's premier rocket scientist.
If there's one thing we can say for sure about the Nazis during the Second World War, it's that their technology was highly advanced, in many respects far more advanced than the Allies, even though that ultimately, thank goodness, we won the war. Their scientists, for example, in the fields of rocketry, like biological warfare, chemical warfare, they were years ahead of everybody else.
The issue regarding the Nazis and their flying saucer research is there is a basis in fact here. You know, we all know now that there were certain German scientists during World War II, I think most prominently Victor Schauberger, who were doing, let's say, even genius-level work on disc-shaped airframes. Schauberger was a self-taught genius who was then commandeered by the SS to work for them during the war. He did create disc-shaped craft. They were tested.
Well, of course, since that's a real hidden part of history, I don't think anybody knows for sure what happened to the German saucers. What we know for absolute positive is that they had the plans, the drawings were on the drawing board, okay? The only argument is, did they actually ever fly any?
The late William Tompkins, a Navy aerospace engineer who claimed to have designed spacecraft for the secret space programs, believed there was an even more incredible story behind these vehicles.
It's 1942. The war's on. Rick Ubata, his hobby is sending these Navy operatives into Germany. They've been going all over Germany, and they're staggered at what they found. They found that Hitler and the SS made an agreement with reptilian extraterrestrials. They found hundreds of different types of advanced weapons being built. These included 500-foot UFOs, round vehicles.
On September 3, 1946, President Truman approved over 1,000 German scientists temporary limited military custody under a secret directive called Operation Paperclip.
When we look at the entire time frame of 44, 45, through the late 40s, early 50s, the British, the Americans, and the Russians essentially grabbed as much material as they could, and also the scientists. For example, the US had Operation Paperclip, which was designed to bring as many Nazi scientists over to the US to continue the rocket-based programs out at the White Sands missile range. Many of the German scientists were sent there where they worked on essentially the German V-2 rocket. It was just a continuation. And of course, one of those was Wernher von Braun, who became one of the leading figures in NASA later on. So in other words, we've got this paper trail and people trail as well, going from Nazi Germany through Paperclip, right through NASA, through the 60s and 70s, and all interconnected.
The V-2 rocket, designed by Wernher von Braun, was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile powered by a liquid propellant rocket engine. This rocket laid the foundation for the space launchers. But that is not all he was designing. He was also working out preliminary concepts for a human mission to Mars.
The documentation shows that the Defense Department was very interested in what NASA was doing with the Apollo missions, going to the moon, trying to figure out, well, it's great for science, but how could we use that for war? How could we use this for intelligence gathering? How could we ultimately utilize what NASA is doing for defense purposes? And this was decades ago, in the 1960s, when we were just trying to set foot on the moon. The Department of Defense were exploring plans of creating a moon base. And there are government documents declassified that show that they wanted to build a base on the moon. There absolutely could still be that connection between the space program and defense, because the defense really gets kind of into everything. They get their fingers on everything. And so it's pretty safe to say that they're still doing things that we don't know about.
Could the defense agency have had a secret agenda? And if so, could there have been two programs, one for the public and one classified?
In fact, after '59, the whole field went dark. The aircraft industry was not allowed to speak to the media any longer about the research they were doing. And none of us knew about this. I mean, it was known back in the 50s, early 50s, that there was electrogravitics research going on. It wasn't secret. It was in magazines like Product Engineering,
Popular Mechanics,
things like
stuff
this.
like that.
And then people forgot about it because it wasn't discussed anymore.
Right.
There were 6 crewed U.S. moon landings from 1969 to 1972, and then things went dark. Why? Some people suggest there might be a trail to follow.
If you look at the percentage of both the GNP and the federal budget that was going into space at the end of the Kennedy administration and the end of the Johnson administration, it's gone down, and I think it's because it's secret.
The secret went up.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I think the trajectory continued, but the gap between what's public and that trajectory has been part of this.
Numerous people have come forward claiming that they were part of these secret space programs beginning in 1954 and taking place as we speak. Could these be some of the people that Gary McKinnon came across?
Well, I'm a captain, United States Marine Corps Special Section, which is the covert military space program arm of the Marine Corps, which was formed in about the 1954 timeframe by President Dwight D. Eisenhower as response to his lack of cooperation that he was getting from the MJ-12 committee. In the late 1960s, they were developing a augmented soldier program to build soldiers genetically from the ground up, which I was in a program in the late 1960s called Project Moonshadows.
He said, we're going to borrow your consciousness, and you're going to be gone for 20 years. And I said, no, I can't do that. I have my mom and dad and my family. I have a family. I can't be gone. And he explained, he said, no, you're going to go right back the next day. It'll be like you never left, but you get to live this extra time. It's going to be a huge blessing to you.
But if this is true, why keep this program with its personnel and technological advances a secret?
I believe that the energy aspect of it is probably the single most important core of the UFO cover-up. I think a 10-year-old child looking at a flying saucer that can instantly accelerate is going to understand somehow that they're not using gasoline to go around. So they're using something better than that, whatever that is, whether it's 0 point or some kind of safe nuclear fusion or whatever it is. It's not petroleum, and therein lies, that's the revolution. Because implicit in the solution of UFO technology is a post-petroleum civilization. And that is the most radical thing that I can imagine right now for our global power structure.
Is it possible we have advanced technology that is not available to our current society? Evidence seems to point to a private and a public program focused on exploring space that could have happened sometime in our history. One thing is for sure, a trail of technology, money, and personal stories never seem to stay secret with regards to the secret space program.
They seem to appear, again, in ways that our brains can accept. We hear stories about them appearing like a giant bumblebee or a giant fish or a being with blue skin or pink skin or green skin. So the perception of the beings is directly related to the ability of the individual to perceive them.
1 in 5 Americans believe that humanity has been visited by alien beings from beyond the stars. Yet how can we be sure that all of these visitations originate from up there? From the thousands of reports from people who claim to have had direct contact with some kind of anomalous entity, what is the possibility that some of these close encounters are actually interactions with beings from other dimensions?
When an interdimensional being enters our dimension, he falls under the laws of our three-dimensional reality. People report ghosts being seen when they're really these interdimensional beings.
If interdimensional entities are interacting with humanity, what might be their intentions in doing so? Energy healer and host of Quantum Effect, Randy Weitenheimer, has experience in interactions with other dimensions. Combining his background in physics with his many years studying Chinese martial arts and Kundalini energy practices, Randy concludes that the nature of these interdimensional interactions is based on our own consciousness.
Ghosts, spirit attachments, entities are independent, non-physical consciousness that are created. For example, let's say you want to connect with your spirit guide. You're meditating in zero reality, and you ask to have that spirit guide come forward. The being that comes forward is a real presence or information body in zero reality, and it is interpreted by yourself based on your knowledge of this physical world. It is real over there, but interpreted by you as a physical reality here and now.
The theory of multiple parallel universes is a hotly debated topic within the realm of quantum physics. Everything from their mathematical explanation to the number of differing universes within the multiverse have been discussed. Yet the concept in and of itself is backed up with good physics.
We've learned that string theory provides some exciting and beautiful possibilities for discovering a unified theory of